Okay, we should be live. This is Tech Thursdays, episode 166. We're starting a little bit late here, about 5 minutes late. But we have a couple things to talk about this week. Stuff that kind of just showed up out of nowhere. It seems like it's real, but at the same time, it's still technically a rumor since it was not officially unveiled by the manufacturer. Things like the RTX 5070 Super here that we're going to be looking at, as well as a couple of other things. And we're going to reiterate some of the things that were announced last week, because last week the day we had Tech Thursdays was also the day that AMD announced a bunch of stuff for the data center, but a lot of that was Zen 6 related, so we might go back and look at some of that if we have time. Yeah, the RX 9050, we can talk about that. That thing has been officially announced, unlike these super cards. But let's get into this. So, NVIDIA's GeForce RTX 5070 Super has been rumored. The other cards have also been rumored, like the 5080 Super has been rumored. And the launch, it says, well, some of this stuff is like old news here, but it looks like the launch is on hold. So let's just look at this. The RTX 50 Super lineup has followed a remarkably uncertain path, but the 5070 Super may ultimately become one of the most important additions. So this one, according to this article, actually has a slight change to the hardware. This one, they say that not only is it going from 12 gigabytes, so originally it was, 8 gigabytes? No, the laptop one is 8 gigabytes. So it went from 12 gigabytes. With the Super, it's going to 18 gigabytes. And the reason why they're able to do this is because currently, if you look at the memory chips on the existing one, where is it? It's mentioned here. It's like 2 times 6 equals 12. Yeah, so there's 6 memory chips on the PCB, and it's 2 gigabytes per memory chip. So you do 2 times 6, that equals 12 gigabytes of VRAM. But with the new memory chips, they can do 3 gigabytes per memory chip. So that would be 3 times 6. So that's how you get 18 gigabytes of memory. So if that's true, then the 5070 Super will be a pretty good upgrade. Not really that you should upgrade to this if you already have a 5070, but it's a good replacement to the existing 5070. And on top of that, it's also a different die. Like, it's actually getting a mild improvement in the actual CUDA cores. So right here, it says that the GB205-400A1 configuration with 50 streaming multiprocessors, it will be using the full 6,400 CUDA cores compared to 48 SMs. So it's going from 48 SMs to 50 SMs. So that's an increase from 6,144 CUDA cores to 6,400 CUDA cores. So that is a 4% increase in core count, meaning the 5070 Super should receive a small improvement in the actual performance, in addition to the memory upgrade. So if this is true, then I would imagine this should launch real soon, sometime in this quarter. We should be seeing this probably September. It'll be announced, and it may end up launching in October. But the Super Series, it does seem like it actually exists. If you guys remember, I think it was last November, I think it was last year, Seasonic leaked that there was a 5080 Super as well, which would have had, let me see if they have it actually listed here. Yeah, this one right here. Yes, this was earlier this month. Seasonic had listed on their website, a 415 watt TDP 5080 Super, 15% higher than the 5080. So this is another one that's interesting because this one at 415 watt TDP, this could be close to the RTX 4090 in terms of the performance, because the 4090 has a power limit of around 400. Its TDP is 450 watts, but it realistically is more like 425 watts. So this will be similar to the 4090 in terms of the power limit, which means it will be similar in terms of the performance. So the 5080 Super could end up being the redemption that the 5080 needed, if this is true. Now, this could all just be stuff that never actually happens. Even though it was on Seasonic's website, it could be a product that just never ends up going to market. Who knows? So, especially right now, the weird thing is with the VRAM, with RAM in general being a problem industry-wide, I don't know if NVIDIA bothers to put the 3GB GDDR7 modules on a consumer graphics card, because they could end up reserving stuff like this for a different market segment altogether. Which, if they do, I wouldn't be surprised if they do that at all. But yeah, this is another one. You know, like 24GB VRAM versus 16GB VRAM. That's actually really good, because that's what I've been saying. Like for AI, for like real actual AI, 24GB of VRAM is minimum spec right now. And that's the reason why cards like the RTX 3090 and the 3090 Ti have continued to hold their value so well on the used market, even though those cards are very old now, especially the 3090. Even though the 3090 is prone to VRAM becoming defective due to heat cycles, because the memory on the back, half of the memory is on the back of the 3090, so it's not adequately cooled. So, you know, that's kind of a problem that has plagued that card since the dawn of its existence. However, people still continue to use it for AI. So if this is true, and if this launches in like September, October timeframe, this will be a worthy successor to the RTX 4080, because this one actually has a noticeable improvement. Whereas the current card, the current 5080, literally has like no improvement. It's barely any different from the 4080. It's the exact same VRAM. You know, it's not any better. I mean, the only thing that it has is the multi-frame gen, but you know, how many people actually care about multi-frame gen? So that's kind of it is what it is. So, and this would have all of that as well. So that seems pretty good overall. That and the 5070 Super graphics cards, if these end up launching at the end of this quarter, that would line up with what I've been anticipating for the 60 series. Because right now, from my point of view, we won't see the RTX 60 series until the spring or early summer of next year at the earliest. So putting the supercards out around that 9 to 10 month window, or maybe 8 to 10 month window, I feel like that is the correct move if NVIDIA is in fact going to introduce these at all. So they may end up not introducing these. I mean, all this is just rumors, but it does seem like these cards do exist. The 5070 Super is a fully unlocked, fully enabled GB205, whereas the current 5070 is a cut down die. It's missing 2 of the SMs are disabled on it for yield or whatever purposes. But anyway, that's that. So that's something that's new that was announced this week. So something to be aware of in terms of the hardware. Now, another article that came out this week, literally today. So AMD quietly seeds Zen 6 client support into Linux. This is interesting. This is going into Linux now, tipping Olympic Ridge desktops and Medusa mobile Ryzen chips. So all of the Zen 6 stuff that AMD is now seeding to the developer side, This is all in anticipation of the refresh, which is 2027. So next year, all of the Zen 6 lineup, whether we're talking data center, client, mobile, gaming, all of the above are all going to be basically updated to Zen 6. So the full launch is next year for everything across the board. Data center, the big data center customers right now, cloud scale, web, all those guys, they're getting access to Venice now, but it's not really shipping until later this year. So what does that mean? That means if you're somebody who wants a Zen 6 based desktop, whether it's a gaming desktop or whatever, like a home computer, most likely you will have to wait until around March of next year. That kind of tracks with the way things have been going. So if you're looking for Zen 6, if you're thinking a bit of upgrading, but you're wanting to wait for Zen 6, you're pretty much going to wait until about March of next year. Just FYI on that one. And then if you're someone who's looking for a Zen 6 based laptop, like it doesn't matter if it's a gaming laptop or a workstation or a thin and light, if you're someone who's looking for a Zen 6 based mobile laptop, you will be waiting until around next summer to next fall. The Zen 6 laptops, so all the Medusa Mobile, all that stuff, Medusa Point, Medusa Halo, all those things, whatever they end up calling those things will get shown off at CES next January, and then they will really start launching, and they'll get shown off again, but really start launching around June of next year. So it's still a long wait if you're someone who is on an old laptop and you want to get a new laptop, but you don't like how memory is so expensive right now, so and you want to go with Zen 6, you're better, well, if you're going to go to Zen 6, you got to wait. Like, there's no other way around that. But who knows? You could be waiting, and by the time Zen 6 shows up, memory could either be more expensive than it is right now, which seems to be the reality of what is actually going to happen, or it could be the same as it is right now, or it could be, optimistically, it could be cheaper. But the only way memory will be cheaper a year from now is if Chinese memory is able to sell to companies like Apple. If that doesn't happen, then we're probably going to be looking at more expensive RAM a year from now. That's unfortunate, but that's the way things are going. Yeah. So this year has not been a good year for someone who is into technology as a hobby. Next year is probably going to be a repeat of this year. It's starting to look like it will be. I feel like, I hate to use the phrase the new normal, because I hear that phrase thrown out a lot since the pandemic. People will say, oh, this is the new normal. Well, it does feel, unfortunately, like the hardware pricing that we've been forced to tolerate is the new normal. So I don't see memory prices going down next year. The only way that can possibly happen is if there's some massive breakthrough in supply. Like, for example, if Chinese memory can be sold to hardware manufacturers, that will help things a lot. Even if it's only to allow companies to sell their products with Chinese memory in the local Chinese market. Because that's what they're trying to do right now. That's the thing. Actually, Apple, if I can find that article on this website, but WCCF Tech has like the worst search engine on the planet in terms of trying to find their articles. But there was an article somewhere on here. Apple. Yeah, here it is. Okay. Okay, good, because it was today. So Apple says it's evaluating various memory sources, including Chinese ones that would, and Apple, I quote, help us on the supply side, despite a pushback from U.S. senators. So right now it seems like the U.S. federal government is what's holding back, or kind of in the way of Apple being able to try to improve the supply for their own manufacturing. And the weird thing about this is if you read through this article, they don't even want to use, like, it's not like Apple's wanting to use Chinese memory to sell Apple products in the US with Chinese memory in the Apple's products. They're trying to sell their own products like Apple iPhones, MacBook Pro, all that stuff. They're trying to sell those things with Chinese memory in the local Chinese market. So they're not even trying to sell it in the US with Chinese memory. That's not what they're trying to do. But for some reason, the US senators, they don't want, I don't know, I'm not going to name names. I don't know which senators are blocking this, but they think that it's a security vulnerability or something. Like that's my understanding. But here's the thing, guys. They're trying to sell Apple phones in China with Chinese memory inside them for the domestic Chinese market, not the US market, not the international market. So, I mean, how is this a problem? Like, I don't understand what's the problem. At this point, right now, I would have to side with Apple on this argument just because we are suffering so much. The entire global economy is suffering so much due to all these AI companies causing memory shortages that desperate times call for desperate measures. So there's another interesting thing about TSMC. Like TSMC is not raising they're not price gouging the way the memory cartel is, because TSMC doesn't want to incentivize other competitors to rise up against them, if that makes sense. That's kind of how it appears from the outside looking in. I don't know if that's the actual reason, but it's because people are like, oh, TSMC is so merciful. TSMC is so generous. Well, are they? Or are they just trying to prevent incentives to build competitors? I mean, because look at this. Like, literally, this problem with memory has incentivized companies like the Chinese memory companies to get their act together and really ramp up their capabilities. So, because the demand for memory is just so sky high right now, and the supply is so short or so small. So it says here, so here is a quote from Apple. We paid more for memory in the March quarter than the December quarter. We expected to pay significantly more in the June quarter than the March quarter. And that is what happened. It was partially offset by the benefit of carrying inventory. For September, we expect to pay even higher memory costs. So this statement alone is proof that the memory prices are only going to continue going up. They're not going to go down, they're going to go up, which means a year from now, they're either going to be most likely they're going to be more expensive than they are right now, or they're going to, at best, they're going to be the same price that they are right now. And that's highly unlikely. It's leaning more like an 80% chance that it'll be more expensive than it is right now, based off of what we're hearing from this. I mean, if you've been paying attention to other companies besides Apple, you hear them, like the guy from AData literally said 2030. This won't flatline at least until 2030. Then you can start reevaluating. That's what he said. This is AData speaking, the CEO or somebody from AData. And the CEO of Framework has announced that they can't fulfill order. Like if you pre-ordered a Framework Laptop 13 Pro with the LP Cam 2, you're getting downgraded. Now they're like refunding some of the money because they're going to exchange, but that's another thing that's crazy. That's mind-boggling that that's actually happening. You're basically getting downgraded. Like if you pre-ordered the LP Cam 2 memory for the Framework Laptop 13 Pro, they are unable to fulfill. I think they said they can only fulfill like the first 3 batches or something. So if you're in like batch 4, you're SOL. you're getting down. If you pre-ordered a 64 gigabyte LP Cam 2 from Framework, you're getting a 32 gig from Framework of LP Cam 2. And if you ordered a 32 gig, if you ordered 32 gigs of LP Cam 2 from Framework, you're getting 16 gigs of LP Cam 2. So that's kind of how insane crazy this memory situation is getting, where companies are being unable to, let me see if I can find that one. Framework LP Cam 2. No, see, these guys have like the worst search engine on the planet. Framework previews, framework fixes one, framework this is all three. No. Announces another memory price hike. Announces 50% price increase for memory. Well, I mean, these are all related. This is not what I'm looking for, but all that's terrible news. Just reading those articles. But yeah, going back to this, we're continuing to evaluate this in terms of the sources of supply. It would help us on the supply side and perhaps the pricing side. It's unclear on the pricing side, but it could help us on the supply side. We're evaluating all options. So this is very problematic. Very problematic. Because memory. So here's the other thing too, like, I started looking at some of the other industries, not just building computers. I started looking at the auto industry. Car pricing is just through the roof right now, and I don't really understand why. You can't really blame it on memory, because it's been happening for the last like half a decade. Basically since the pandemic, the auto manufacturers realized they can basically keep supply relatively constrained on purpose, meaning don't throw a lot of cars on the dealer lot so that your customers won't have as much negotiating power. And it actually works. And that's why, at least in the US, the average car price crossed over $50,000 for a brand new car. Now, to me, that sounds so bad. When I heard that, and I looked into that, because I was trying to figure out, is that because of the memory issue? Is the memory problem causing the cars to be expensive? But it's actually not related to the memory, at least not directly. But when I read that, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm keeping my car forever at this point. Like, I'm never changing my car, because this is nonsense. Like, wow. And then they've got like touchscreens and iPads instead of like actual gauges on all the cars now. I was thinking, yeah, man, I don't know. Maybe I'm so stuck in the 7th generation of consoles that none of the new cars appeal to me, because they're all just a bunch of touch screens and computer chips. Even though I'm a tech enthusiast, I for some reason don't like any of the new cars. So yeah, I guess it's just bad times, man. Like, everything's just so expensive. It seems like what is the phrase? Cost of living, not cost of living, it's the value for your money is going down. The cost of living has gone up, but it's kind of stayed the same for the last like 3 years. It went up and then it kind of like slowed, but the value for your money has definitely gone down. I've noticed this, and it's not just in the US. This is happening like globally. Overall, at least in the developed countries, the value for money has definitely decreased significantly. Purchasing power. That's what I was looking for. That was the phrase I was looking for. Thank you. Yes, the purchasing power has definitely decreased, because when you think about it, like, we were talking about this, like 2 weeks ago, where, if you wanted the fastest GPU back in the day, the price kind of like capped out around $700. Maybe if you were looking for something extreme like a Titan GPU, that capped out around $1,000 back in the day. Look at how much those top tier GPUs are now. We're talking like $3,000 or more. And technically, that isn't even the fastest. That isn't even the fully unlocked die. You got to go up to like $9,000 to $10,000 for the fastest graphics cards now. So it's kind of insane. It's time for paint. Yeah, I think it's time for paint. It used to be, like, if we look at the year 2016, 10 years ago, compare 2016 to 2026. If you wanted the fastest graphics card on the planet, the GTX Titan Little X Big P, the Titan XP, or was it this one, the Titan XP Big X Little P, or was it Little X Big P? I don't remember. The Titan XP. If you wanted the Titan X Pascal, which was the fastest GPU, this thing was $1,000. This was the fastest GPU you could get. Now, I gotta make sure I'm correct on this, because I don't actually know if I'm right. I'm pretty sure Titan XP... Yeah, wait. Hold on, which one? Yeah, Titan X Pascal, August 2nd, 2016. There it is. The Titan X Pascal, 12 gigabytes, GDDR5X, 384-bit bus, 3,584 CUDA cores, GP102 die, MSRP. Oh, I was wrong. $1,200. Okay, I was wrong. We gotta change that. That's what I was looking for. I was like, am I correct on that price? It doesn't sound right. Okay, $1,200. $1,200. Or GTX 1080. $699 for the Founders Edition. The GTX 1080 Founders Edition. So these were the graphics cards back in the day. Now, fast forward 10 years later. RTX Pro 6000. RTX, the fastest gaming graphics card on the planet. RTX Pro 6000 Blackwell. There it is. 24,064 CUDA cores, GB202, 96 gigabytes of memory, 512-bit bus, GDDR7. This is the enthusiast graphics card. The fastest graphics card on the gaming planet. Much faster. The 5090 is only 88% of an RTX Pro 6000. But what is the price? List price, $8,565. Actual price, $9,000. So look at this. We'll just do 8,999. 899. The other one, RTX 5090. And what is that one? What is that one right now? That one's MSRP was $19.99, but that's actually not true. So it's more like $24.99. Even right now, it's technically $3,000. I'll just say $24.99 now. So $24.99 RTX 5090, second strongest. So it's like this one, you have Vegeta. This one, you have Nappa. So you have your strongest, you have your second strongest. So this is basically what it is. And then look at the difference in the price. Like you can do the math. What's the difference between a Titan X from 2016, 10 years ago, the fastest of the fast, versus the RTX Pro 6000, the fastest of the fast, today? And yeah, that's a huge difference. Huge difference. This is 12 GB. This is 8 GB. This is 96 GB. This is 32 GB. So the VRAM, yeah, the VRAM has gone up. The VRAM has gone up. But the price scaling is out of control. So the purchasing power. Moral of the story is purchasing power has decreased in 10 years. This is an example of it. This is a excellent example. I don't know if it's the most like resonating example, but it is definitely an example of how price scaling is way out in left field now, to the point where every time I talk about this with people, they always tell me, you need to get a different hobby. You need to stop this hobby. This hobby is out of control. Like, this is, the spend on this is ridiculous. But then I'm like, well, okay, what should I do? You know, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, it's not like, if I get, like I just said, how I'm not going to get into cars because cars today are trash compared to cars from like literally a decade ago, or maybe even a little bit more than a decade ago at this point. But because it's like, dude, the price of this is so expensive that it's like an interesting comparison as a hobby would be like cars. Cars. But it's like, no, man, because cars are so like today, have you seen how bad all the new cars are? Have you seen all the meme videos of like brand new cars with LCD screens with the speedometers and the tachometers just like freezing up and requiring you to turn off the car and turn it back on to reboot the whole system? Like that, when I saw that, I'm like, dude, it's like the reliability of cars today is actually lower in quality than it was 10 years ago. Doesn't even matter what brand. It can even be Toyota. Even Toyota's quality is down. The other reason why a lot of these cars, the quality is down, is because they go and they throw turbos in like everything now. And everyone who's any car guy knows that a turbo is never going to last as long as a traditional engine, like a traditional old school engine. It's like it's much higher risk to bet on the quality of an engine using a turbo versus an old school engine that's not using a turbo. You know, traditional, what do they call it? Traditional, not induction. What am I trying to say? What's the word? It's like traditional compression engine, no supercharger, no turbocharger, just regular engine. Old school engine. Those engines are built to last. Throwing turbos on everything is not going to make it last. Naturally aspirated. Thank you. Naturally aspirated. Yeah, I'll put my money on a naturally aspirated over a turbo engine in terms of quality and how long it'll last any day of the week, man. Naturally aspirated. All those old school games, all those old school engines, none of this turbo nonsense. Nowadays, it's like, okay, a car, so let's look at like a typical 2026 new car. Turbo engine, LCD screens for the dash, like everywhere. Like you have the dash, LCD for the stereo, the HVAC, the speedometer, the tachometer. You know, like you have, some of them have the super ultra wide for the LCD for the dash. I'm thinking like, what if it flakes out? What if the backlight goes bad? What if the LED backlight goes bad? You're screwed. You're screwed. It's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and the backlight, the inverter on the backlight of the LCD goes bad, like in any monitor. What are you gonna do? Now you can't see how fast you're going. Now you can't see if you know what your fuel is. You can't see any gauges because it's all an LCD screen. That sounds so bad. When I saw that, because people are telling me, man, you need to get a new hobby. Stop doing this stupid computer stuff. Because it's like, you're telling me I got to spend $9,000 on a graphics card to play Grand Blue Fantasy Relink? Get lost. Go get a new hobby. You know, like I was trying to tell someone the other day, I'm like, man, you should definitely get into gaming PC, like build a computer. And they're like, I looked up building a gaming computer, and it's like the computer is like $17,000. I might as well go and buy a used car with that. You know, like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, what is this? This is a joke. This is a joke. So I'm like, yeah, you know, it's kind of messed up right now, you know, because of the memory and stuff. But it's like, what? And then they've got like sensors everywhere, cameras, all kinds of electronics that increase the insurance premium. Yeah, all kinds of electronics, because you know, if you're in a fender bender, or if you back up and hit something and you break the sensor, now it's like your car's malfunctioning because the parking sensors aren't working. So that's so it's, man, bro, this is horrible. Like, this is when I heard this, I was like, I'm not gonna get into cars. That sounds worse. That sounds worse than like building PCs at this point, because it's like, I'm not gonna do no turbos, no LCD screens on all my car. No, dude. I ain't doing this. Give me my traditional gauges. Give me my like analog buttons in the middle of the car. Like, I want my physical buttons to control the radio, to control the HVAC. I don't want no capacitive touch. I don't want no LCD screen that can crack or have the inverter go out and then the screen doesn't work. No way. I ain't doing that. You'll spend $2,500 to virtually run a car into the ground. Virtually? Get a muscle car. Do the muscle cars still have analog gauges, or do they have these stupid LCD screens everywhere? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want no car that has a steering wheel and it has like a center stack. Like, the center stack is like this, right? Like, you have the HVAC vent, you have your air vents, you have your, so it's like on these new cars, they've got like a screen, an LCD screen for the speedometer. And they've got like another LCD screen for like the radio and all sorts of stuff. I don't want no iPad. I don't want an iPad in my car. I don't want a touchpad. Like, okay, maybe if it's like a small little screen like this, but I don't want a giant iPad. I don't want an iPad in front of me telling me how fast I'm going. You know, like, no. You wouldn't buy a car newer than 2026, though? They're going to have tracking cameras in them so they can... Oh, man. And people are saying that we can't use Chinese memory. Oh, they passed the law. It's legit. Oh, man. Older car without surveillance. They're putting feature to shut cars down. Oh yeah. See, like that's what I'm talking about. Like, first of all, that's what I mean when I say all kinds of electronics, like like kill switches and stuff. All kinds of electronics that you don't even know that some of those electronics are even in the car. And then they increase the insurance on them because they've got so many random electronic chips in them now. So it's like you break like one thing on the car and it's like, oh, that's going to be like $7,000 minimum because you got to replace like wires, sensors, computer chips, whatever. Like, it's ridiculous. It's like, no, dude, no. Oh man, it's all messed up. So that's why I'm not getting into cards. Because I was considering like, what's an alternative hobby that I can get into if the computer stuff is just so bad now that it's like not even worth it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, I could just keep my current computer for the next like 5 years and I'll probably be fine. Eventually the graphics card will age out and it won't be powerful enough to play games at 4K without using like 1080p upscale to 4K and stuff like that. But, I thought about that. Honestly, I really did think about that recently. That's something that I was like, what if I just never upgrade my computer for as long as possible? What made me think about this was when we started doing all those retro gaming streams. Recently, if you only watch Tech Thursdays, if you haven't watched my gaming live streams that we do on the weekend, a month ago or so, I was streaming using old computers, like DDR3 old. Like, yeah, that's old. And then we also started doing DDR4, and that made me start thinking, it's like, well, what if I just not upgrade my current computer? I just keep using this thing as long as I can until the point where it's just as bad as the DDR3 computer. Because the DDR3 computer, you literally can't play. Like, I highly recommend those of you that haven't seen that live stream, at least watch part of it. Just go look at how the DDR3 computer, a computer from like 15 years ago, handled games. See how well that 15-year-old computer plays games. Modern games. Yeah, Unreal Engine 5 games. It is not good. It is definitely not good. So I was thinking, well, how long can I keep using my current computer to the point, like how many years can I get out of it to the point where it just cannot run games anymore? Like, because the technology has progressed so much that these old electronics just are ancient at that point. So I wonder about that. PC you're going to keep for 10 years. I mean, if you don't play games, those old computers are fine for just like, YouTube, internet, whatever. Like, those old computers still work. But if you try to play, like we were trying to play like what? Mortal Shell, some modern games, Lords of the Fallen, you can't really play these type of modern games with those old computers. Old computer, it's not just the computer, not just the CPU. We're talking like old GPU, like old GPU, and we're using a 4K monitor, so it's not pretty. It doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? You aren't even getting like, we're talking like DisplayPort 1.3 or maybe DisplayPort 1.4. So you're definitely using DSC like all the time for 4K at that point. And you can't even run like 4K 240 hertz. Like, I think when I was using that computer, the highest refresh I could get on my 240 OLED was like 90 hertz. It was like 90 hertz or something. So, but it's funny because the OLED probably doesn't need to be swapped out for a long time. But the computer itself, like, I don't know, I kind of think 4K is going to cause it to struggle over the next coming years. If I don't upgrade it, maintaining 4K gaming is going to be really, really hard. But that's what upscaling is for. No, with DSC, you can get 90 hertz. You can't really get above. Well, I don't remember. It was telling me Windows was like, your GPU can't go above 90 hertz at 4K. So, it didn't give me the option to go above 90 hertz. So I felt like that's some limitation, physical limitation of the DisplayPort that the GPU has. Because if I tried to force it to like 120 hertz, it would drop the 4K down to like some weird resolution that wasn't even 4K. So anyway. So purchasing power has gone down. The Apple wants to use Chinese memory for the Chinese market, but they're being told not to. That because I mean, you guys don't realize how much of a problem this is, how this affects PC enthusiasts. Apple is one of the largest DDR5 consumers on the planet. iPhone is global. iPhone needs RAM. If iPhone needs RAM, iPhone gets RAM. If this GPU needs RAM, it has to wait until iPhone gets RAM because iPhone has priority. iPhone is first class. GPU 5090 is not first class. 5090 is in third class down at the back of the line. So if iPhone can't get memory, then 5090 doesn't get memory either. If iPhone gets memory, 5090 might be allowed to get memory. That's how these things work. So if Apple can alleviate the supply and get some memory from, I don't know, China, maybe CXMT, and they also need flash memory. They need flash memory. If iPhone can't get flash memory, then PlayStation 5 doesn't get flash memory. If iPhone gets flash memory, then PlayStation 5 might be allowed to get flash memory. So that's just how these things work. So YMTC is able to supply flash memory, so non-volatile storage, for the Chinese domestic market. So if Apple can get these two, then that will actually help a ton. That would help so much. So, I don't know, man. The U.S. government's telling them, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't buy from CXMT. It's for your own good. You can't do it. It's for your own good. No Chinese memory. No Chinese flash. No, don't do it. You can't do it. It says here, Financial Times. Hold on. So it says, for the benefit of those who might not be aware, as per recent reports, Apple is apparently testing DRAM products from China's CXMT, hinting at a growing probability of the Chinese DRAM giant becoming a part of Apple's sprawling supply chain in the near future. Financial Times reported recently that Apple had gone so far as to actively lobby the Trump administration for clearance to buy DRAM from CXMT, which remains on a Pentagon blacklist for its connections to China's People's Liberation Army. Well, that's because the Chinese military also needs, I don't know, memory chips like everyone else. Bloomberg's Mark Gurman also chimed in recently, disclosing that Apple was working with the Trump administration to minimize any blowback in Washington if it does end up procuring memory resources from CXMT for its products sold in China. Key phrase: sold in China. Do note that any memory Apple does end up procuring from Chinese vendors would only be used within its products sold in China. Even so, the Cupertino-based tech giant is attracting substantial pushback in Washington. So yeah, so this is why I don't know. I don't really see this as a problem to allow them to do this, because again, they're doing this to improve the supply chain for the domestic Chinese market. So basically, iPhones that are sold in China. They're not putting these chips in iPhones that are going to be sold in the US. So why is this a problem? Do note that memory Apple does end up procuring from Chinese vendors. Okay, we already said that. In fact, a group of lawmakers have now called on Apple to abandon its plans for China-sourced memory, going on to demand a commitment from Apple by August 21st that it would not pursue this course, while also asking for the full disclosure of any technical information that the iPhone maker might have shared with CXMT and YMTC. Oh no, they're asking for the full disclosure, not a full disclosure, the full disclosure of any technical information that the iPhone maker might have shared with CXMT and YMTC. As per Apple's comments during the earnings call, however, it appears to have remained unmoved by the extortions of U.S. senators. Well, this is interesting. Apple is now begging the Trump administration for access to blacklisted DRAM from CXMT as iPhone 18 Pro's memory costs threaten to triple. Who wants to pay $4,000 for an iPhone 18 Pro because the memory is driving up the price? Okay, Apple appears adamant to break through the memory-related constraints imposed by Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron, and is willing to take on a sizable political risk by lobbying the eminently mercurial Trump administration, or mercurial Trump administration, on behalf of China's CXMT. While this gambit is quite risky, it is nonetheless the only viable option for Apple to gain access to the required memory resources at affordable prices, short of setting up its own memory fabs. Yeah, mercurial. Apple wants explicit clearance from the Trump administration to procure bulk shipments of DRAM from China's CXMT. The Financial Times is now reporting that Apple has begun lobbying the Trump administration for clearance to buy memory chips from CXMT, which remains in a Pentagon blacklist for its connections to the China People Liberation Army. You know what's weird though? Because these guys also use chips. I think they use Samsung also. I know they don't use Micron or SK Hynix, but I think they use Samsung also, in addition to CXMT. As part of its efforts, Apple has already approached the U.S. Commerce Department and is also actively advocating. You know what's weird about this? Why is it that so what does the U.S. use? Hold on, if the Chinese army uses CXMT memory, does the US only use Micron? Because Samsung and SK Hynix are technically foreign companies. Obviously, they operate in the US, but they're still technically Korean companies. So does that mean the US Army only uses Micron because Micron is American? That's America memory? And CXMT is Chinese memory? Is that how it's supposed to work? I've never actually thought about this until now. Like, what does the US Army use for actual memory chips? I assume it must all be Micron, because Micron is US of A. And Micron is everyone's favorite memory company. They are so good. American brand. DRAM. Micron. Anything but China? Doesn't US need to have, like, stuff from US, though? Doesn't US need to have stuff that's American made? For the military? Can they use foreign stuff? Samsung and SK Hynix is foreign stuff. This is like foreigner things. As part of its efforts, Apple has already approached the U.S. Commerce Department is also advocating for this suspension by targeting other officials across the administration and ally. Okay. Do not Apple is just okay. See, look at this. Here we go. Sticker shock. Apple must pay more for 2 memory chip components, so the price it charges iPhone buyers also goes up. Bill of materials for the iPhone 17 Pro. Here it is. Oh man, they're showing it. Whoa. This is it. 12 gigs of RAM. A19 Pro. Man, 12 gigs of RAM in an Apple iPhone? That's equal to like 16 gigs of RAM minimum in an Android phone. 256 gigs of storage. 5 gig cellular modem battery. So hold up, I want to see the cost breakdown. Here we go. Okay, it costs them the base cost. The base cost for the 17 Pro. Memory for the 12 gigs of memory, it used to be $39. Now it's $145. So Apple's cost for the iPhone 17 Pro was $582. That means the retail price $1,100. So that shows you Apple is making huge profit margins on the iPhone 17 Pro. Huge profit margins on the iPhone 17 Pro. Now, iPhone 18 Pro. The price of memory goes from $39 to $145. The storage goes from $13 to $51. Everything else stays the same. That means the bill of material cost for Apple, the COGS, goes to $726 to manufacture the iPhone 18 Pro. So that means the estimated price of an iPhone 18 Pro, according to this, $1,300. $1,300. So this is not good enough for Apple, because if I do the math, we do a simple calculation, 582 into 1099, that is 52.9, so that is 1 minus 0.52. That means Apple is making almost 50% profit margin on the iPhone 17 Pro. And if you do, actually, no, that's not 50%. That's more than 50%. That's like, yeah, that's a lot. That's more than one. So 726 into 1299. So in order to maintain a similar ratio, they need to go that high. So yeah, $1,300. To get an idea of just how dire the situation has become for Apple, consider the fact that memory and flash costs made up just around 9% of Apple's BOM for the 256 gigabyte back in 2025. However, these two components will make up a whooping 27% of the BOM for the upcoming 256 gigabyte variant. Meanwhile, China's CXMT is perhaps the only company in the world that can offer Apple memory related salvation, keyword salvation, from the starvation. After all, CXMT is aggressively expanding its capacity right now to the tune of 300,000 wafers per month by the end of this year from its current capacity of just around 200,000 wafers per month. That's a lot. That's a huge increase. Even if CXMT is unable to fulfill Apple's entire demand load, its incursion into Apple's supply chain will allow the iPhone maker to then drive the hard bargain with the so-called Big Three. Finally, if the Trump administration does grant Apple's CXMT-related requests, the flash storage giant YMTC will almost certainly follow suit, marking China's remarkable re-entry within Apple's logistics. Oh, this was an old article, but this is another one related to that. Okay, so yeah, this one was from at the beginning of the month. But it's crazy, man. It is crazy. So this I kind of think, well, actually, look at the profit margins of Apple though. That's insane. That is insane. The profit margins on the iPhone. They make so much money on the iPhone. Look at that. It's under $600 to manufacture and they sell for almost double. Wow. It's like they can manufacture they could basically, for the price of selling one phone, is equal to manufacturing two phones. Wow, that's actually really good. Wow. The more I think about that, man, Apple and Tim Cook, they've had a good run for real. Like, that's kind of insane seeing this. MacBook Pro. Is MacBook Pro even that good though? Because see, here's the thing. Like, everyone keeps on saying how iPhone is the industry standard phone, and MacBook Pro is the industry standard laptop. Is that true? I don't know. Is the iPhone really that durable though? Can it survive being dropped on a concrete floor? Like, I don't know about that. It's not going to be unscathed from that because of that aluminum body. That's why I don't really like aluminum chassis, because if they get dented, they're basically screwed. You can't really fix that. You know what I'm talking about? Like, imagine using a MacBook Pro in like a car shop fixing cars with a MacBook Pro like on the floor and stuff. Like, I don't know, man. That doesn't seem like that's a very durable computer. I just can't imagine that thing like looking pristine. But people are saying like the apples are good. Are their screens really that good? Every time I look at one, I feel like I could snap the screen in half in like an instant. You know what I'm saying? Like, is it really good? Like, if you open the Mac with one finger or whatever, can you hold it by the screen? Like, can you pick it up? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like if I have the laptop like this. Oh wait, hold up. Can you, if you open the laptop and have it like, I guess I need to draw it diagonally. Like if I have it open like this, can I pick it up? Like if this is the hand, that's like supposed to be a hand, okay? Like, can the hand pick up the laptop like that? Just grab it by the screen and just hold it and walk around with it by holding it like that? Because I did it with my ThinkPad back in the day all the time. I would carry my ThinkPad with the laptop open with the keyboard part and everything just hanging out. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm not talking about I'm talking about MacBook Pro. I'm talking about MacBook Pro. Because, you know, like this laptop. Oh. This laptop. I used to carry this one by the screen like all the time. I still have this laptop. I think it was in a video once recently, earlier this year. Or maybe it was last year. It still works. Battery still works. It has like an 84 watt hour battery that still has like 79 watt hours remaining. On this laptop was from 2010. This is a 16-year-old laptop. Battery still works. Screen still works. Everything about it still works. And I used to abuse this thing and carry it around with the screen open, like holding the screen, not the actual base of the laptop, carrying it around with a hard drive in it of all things. Still works. So I highly doubt that the MacBook Pro can match this thing. No, this is a Lenovo ThinkPad. The screen is thick. The screen has a magnesium fiber like back plate behind it. And this is a real pain to open up and fix. Or just like if you wanted to swap the RAM or whatever. I mean, it's actually not too hard to swap the keyboard. But like if you wanted to open one of these up, it is not easily user serviceable. So, I mean, everyone keeps saying how MacBook is the standard. I'm thinking like, are they really that good? Like, I don't know. I kind of think the ThinkPads are better. I mean, if I had to choose, if I had to choose between a MacBook Pro and that ThinkPad, take it into like a car shop on the garage floor. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the ThinkPad's gonna survive just fine. Not sure about that MacBook Pro though. Because see, the thing about this thing, and this is probably the reason why I don't like metal on laptops. Like this thing has a black plastic body, and the back of the LCD screen cover is like a rubberized plastic. It's like rubber. It's like a very soft touch rubbery plastic. So if you scratch it, you can easily just rub the scratch away. And you'll never see the scratch again because it's rubber. You know what I'm saying? Like it's self-healing in that regard. And I know some phones recently have that self-healing like that metal that's so firm that it can scratch other textures and it'll survive. This is kind of like that, only the inverse of that. So, yeah, I don't know, man. This is the good stuff. This is the good stuff. This appeals to me. The metal laptop box, that doesn't appeal to me because one little, like, you plug the charger and you scrape up the side of the aluminum and now you got like a scratched up area around the charger port. You just ruin the look of the laptop forever. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I kind of think the ThinkPad's better. But now the new ones are still good. The new ones still have a similar feel. They've lost a lot of the features, the rugged features though, like the latch that holds the laptop shut. They used to have this latch to open the screen. They got rid of that, so now it's like every other laptop. You just open the screen normally now. So I don't know. Those are the type of laptops that you can install Linux on and they work fine. Those old DDR3 laptops. You know what I'm saying? That was a DDR3 laptop. DDR3, man. DDR3. Um all right, I don't know if we did this last week, but there's this article. So last week, AMD announced the 6th gen EPYC server processor. Did we talk about this? Yeah, actually, I think we did talk about this. It's all data center stuff. But they're bringing PCIe Gen 6. Zen 6 on EPYC features PCIe Gen 6. Not PCIe Gen 5, it's PCIe Gen 6. So next gen IO. This is all because of the AI. AI first data centers are driving the need for more bandwidth, therefore bring PCIe 6 into the mix as quick as you can. So you can see, so what is this? Generations of EPYC throughput improvement. So I don't know, they say throughput. I guess that means like a mix of multi-thread, single-thread workloads. So compared to, okay, this is interesting. Naples was Zen 1, Rome was Zen 2, Milan was Zen 3. Now, first, second, and third are all DDR4 based EPYC platforms. Then you had Genoa, Turin, and now Venice. These are the DDR5 platforms. But my goodness, that Venice, look at how that scales up more steeply than going from Zen 4 to Zen 5. So Zen 6 might be some pretty impressive stuff overall. What do we got here? So it delivers throughput and per core performance versus NVIDIA. So the NVIDIA Vera. Oh, Vera is the NVIDIA CPU for the data center. That's part of the Vera Rubin thing. Rubin is the GPU, Vera is the CPU. So this is an ARM-based CPU from NVIDIA. And you can see the throughput. x86 is really good at throughput, but if you look at the performance per core, ARM is actually very strong. I mean, look at Apple's processors. Those are ARM-based processors. So Venice is able to outperform the Vera ARM-based CPU in a per core performance workload. So per core is like single thread, I guess. And then throughput and per core performance leadership versus the Intel and ARM. That's interesting. So they're treating NVIDIA as its own category. Oh, you know why? It's because of the whole AI thing. And then here, so they just put regular. I guess this is the ARM AGI. Is that like the Google CPU? I don't know whose CPU that is. ARM AGI. Is that the Amazon CPU? I know Google and Amazon have their own CPUs that are ARM based, but I don't know who that is. But then you have Intel with the 6th generation Xeon 6980p. And you can see, so basically it's generational improvements here across the board. Now, this top one, the throughput is going to be way skewed toward the Epic because the Epic is a 256 core CPU, whereas these other two CPUs, like the Intel one has half the core count, and then the ARM one is a little bit more, but it's worse. So that's actually kind of interesting to see. And then these are SQL, MongoDB, and then these other ones, which I'm not familiar. I'm not familiar with Redis. I don't know what Redis is for. In-memory analytics, okay. And you've got your web servers and stuff. So, yeah, these are just some data center workloads. I'm not familiar with these, the life science ones, GrowMax. I've never used any of these things. Weather forecasting, quantum espresso, quantum chemistry. Okay. So that's interesting because it kind of gives you like a sneak peek at what to expect with Zen 6, how it would scale down to the consumer. It's a CPU from ARM themselves. Okay. It looks like it's 16 channel DDR5 and supports DDR5 8000. DDR5 8000. DDR5 8000 is something that already works today on Zen 5. It also works on Zen 4. On the server platform, I know that with Threadripper is a derivative of Epic for the consumer market. Threadripper can easily run DDR5 8000. I myself don't have RDIMM 8000 sticks to showcase that, but I know Wendell from Level 1 Techs already did a whole video about DDR5 8000 on Threadripper, so I know it definitely works. And that's 4 sticks of DDR5, by the way, at DDR5 8000. Not 2 sticks, we're talking 4 sticks at 8000. So, and that's possible because that is one DPC. So it's very easy to do that on a Threadripper, and now with Zen 6, they have official support for DDR5 8000 on an Epic CPU. So that is interesting to see. That I don't know how important DDR5 8000 is for the data center. Maybe AI, maybe the agentic era of AI is pushing demand for better context prompt processing, and maybe that is being done by the CPU and routing it to whatever cluster is going to run the specialist model or the specialist agent for that workload. Or maybe it is an overlay or an orchestrator agent that needs the CPU resources for processing. So maybe that's where the DDR5 comes into play. Maybe it also is used for spillage, because when you exceed the VRAM buffer, in order to keep the model running, it will start using system RAM. Now, obviously, performance slows down significantly. So I really don't know what the DDR5 8000 is for when it comes to data center, but those are the sort of things that might benefit from it. So in terms of, let's take a look if they have a slide that shows the... Okay, that's okay. Agentic AI. See, here we go. Okay, this explains it. So in the past, AI used to be just a regular chatbot. The user types something, and the AI model, like ChatGPT or something or whatever, will infer how to respond. So that's the reasoning component, and then it will respond. That's the old school way of doing AI. That's not the modern AI era. That is like first generation AI. Like that's, like no one's doing that anymore. So now, as of 2026, we have progressed into the second generation of AI. This is known as the agentic era of AI, or what they're referring to as agentic AI. So yeah, if you ever watched the movie The Matrix, and if you're familiar with who the agents are in The Matrix, the agents are basically AIs, and we are now entering into the era of The Matrix. So if you look at it, the orchestrator runs on the CPU. So that would imply that you need a lot of system RAM, aka DDR5 RDIMMs, to do the housing of the prompt processing. So it can route to whichever node it needs to designate the response to come from. So that's basically what that is. That's the orchestrator. So you have all these remote agents. And then on top of that, you can scale out. So it doesn't have to be one server that handles the AI task. It could be a cluster of servers. It could be a different server, a neighboring server, a remote server. You could traverse from one data center building to another. That's where that whole thing that we did like a few months ago, where we draw the diagram and there was the whole paint thing, and they're like, oh, he's doing it again. He's drawing the boxes. He's drawing the lines. Yeah, that thing. You guys remember the spine and leaf? Yeah, all that stuff. So that's where that comes into play. So, and all of those boxes require, you guessed it, memory, and lots of memory. So memory is needed for all of these things, not just the GPUs, not just the server. You need memory for all the network switches. You need memory for the servers. You need memory for the storage servers. And then now you need non-volatile memory, aka NVMe flash, for all of the data lake housing. So there's so much stuff here that requires NAND flash and DRAM, and this is the reason why Apple is so desperate for CXMT memory chips and YMTC NAND flash. So this is the infrastructure that we're familiar with that started last year. You might have clusters of different servers that do the different things. You need the storage, you need caching, apps, the web, all those things. These do not house GPUs. These are just regular servers. So this is the reason why the demand for CPUs is going up very, very quickly. So that's what I'm telling people. If you're on Zen 5, if you went to Zen 5 almost 2 years ago, or last year, or even this year, you're probably going to be skipping Zen 6 for a good while, because the price of CPUs are going up for all of these reasons, just like memory. Now, it's not going to become as expensive as memory, but do understand that the price of CPUs are going up because of all the different devices that need CPUs. Not all these devices need GPUs. Only the GPU servers that do the AI reasoning and inferencing need the GPUs. All these other boxes still need the CPUs. Yeah, and then they're talking about how sandboxes are going to be the new normal. Like, that's the next generation. So, what is this? So they're talking about, okay, these are just some random performance numbers. Against the general purpose CPU servers, what they're saying is, as general purpose CPU servers, they provide 2.4x performance versus NVIDIA Vera. That is completely irrelevant to this audience because none of us really know how Vera performs, and none of us care to know how Vera performs because Vera is a data center CPU that is meant to be paired up with a GPU AI cluster. And then here it's saying that Epic inside a GPU server host node, which means in the AI rack, it is plus 28% peak frequency, so it's faster than an Intel Xeon. This is strictly because of the new TSMC node. And then here, as a CPU server in the sandbox for agentic AI, 2x agents per watt. Per watt? Not perf per watt, it's just per watt. Two times the okay. It's saying you can run twice the amount of agents at the same amount of power versus NVIDIA Vera 88. Okay, I was gonna say last year, but no, it's against NVIDIA's Vera 88. Okay, so that's what that's saying. There is a lot of people that have been asking for this because as much as NVIDIA wants to sell the Vera Rubin, what I have seen and what I've been reading a lot about this, if you read into this more, the AI companies they want the CPU to be x86 based rather than ARM. Now, in some scenarios, ARM makes sense, but if I can buy the same CPU and get bulk quantity discount pricing for my entire AI factory, I would rather do that. I'd rather run everything on an x86 CPU type, meaning I would use an x86 in my general purpose CPU servers because most of those have always been x86. I would run the same because I can source the same CPU for the AI host nodes, and I can get better pricing and deeper discounting by buying. Because remember, guys, remember, the more you buy, the more you save. 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 So, because of that concept, it's advantageous to put the same type of CPU everywhere because it's like, hey, if I buy 10,000 Epic CPUs, I can get a deeper discount than if I only buy 3,000 Epic CPUs or 5,000 Epic CPUs. You know what I'm saying? So that's the reason why it's advantageous to use the same type to get better pricing. That's ultimately what this is about. That's the hidden meaning behind this slide. Because if you pick and choose, it's like, okay, we're going to do NVIDIA Vera here. We're going to do AMD in the sandbox, and we'll put like maybe Intel and AMD mixed in the general purpose. Now your discount percentage is going to be all over the place. It's not going to be that competitive because you're not buying as many from a particular vendor. So that's just how things work. So that's why it's better to just go with everything all the same type. And that's basically what AMD is showing with this slide. And on top of that, it's like it simplifies your support structure as well. Because you think about it, it's like if I have Intel CPUs in my apps servers and I have AMD and Intel in my web servers, if it's like mixed, and if I start having a weird problem, if I start having a problem with one of my web server, or if there's some kind of application on the web that's having a problem, and users are calling in to help desk complaining all of a sudden, now I got to go track down, assuming it's not a software problem, is it a firmware problem, is it is it a CPU problem? Like now what's going on? And now there's two different vendors. Now you got to try to isolate, now you got to troubleshoot with two different companies as opposed to one company. So the phrase that they use is single throat to choke. So if you go with one for all, if something goes wrong, it's the same person to talk to whenever there's a problem. So delivered broad server CPU leadership. So okay, everybody knows this. Epic is really good. Intel really is waiting for the 18 angstrom to get back into the competitive space for a lot of these things. So this is kind of a no-brainer. And then 6th generation AMD Epic Venice, world's best server CPU for cloud, enterprise, and AI. Yeah, AMD is doing really good in data center. They've been doing really, really good basically since like Zen 3 came out. And then I noticed a lot of people starting to buy Epic servers. But it's interesting because in the last 4 years, we have witnessed AMD flip so many data centers that have historically been Xeon over to Epic. And the crazy thing about this is the whole AI thing, which has been happening basically for the past 4 years, is helping accelerate this. So, it helps when you also have a GPU, even though your GPU might not be as competitive with what the competition offers. In this case, NVIDIA's Blackwell for AI is definitely further ahead because of the software. It still allows companies to evaluate your entire product stack. So, yeah, there's a reason why stock prices are the way they are right now because of the way things have gone with this technology. So, SP7 up to 256 cores, SMT on all, so 512 threads, memory bandwidth 1.6 terabytes per second. Yeah, 1.6 terabytes, not terabits, terabytes per second. Next gen IO, PCI Gen 6, 96 cores with 5 gigahertz. This gives you an idea of how the Zen 6 on desktop will scale down. Broad enterprise deployment, 8 to 128 cores. So what this is saying, oh, this is SP8. So you have your SP7 and you have your SP8. SP7 is modernized AI first instance. These are the really, really big CPU, lots of cores. Then you have your broad data center coverage. So this can be as low as an 8-core CPU up to a 128-core CPU. This is SP8. 8-channel memory, whereas this one was a lot of memory bandwidth. I think there was a 16-channel. This is 8 channels plus 2 DPC. Now, as soon as I hear 2 DPC, that tells me that the memory, as soon as you start doing 2 DPC, you ain't running no DDR5 8000. If you're doing 2 DPC, that ain't happening. So even though they advertise DDR5 8000, that's if you're running a 1 DPC configuration on like an 8-channel board. So that means you're doing like 8 sticks DDR5 8000, or you're doing 16 sticks of RAM, but you're only doing like DDR5, I don't know, 5600 or something. We'll call it 5600 is probably what they would be running. And then expand platform IO 128. I like how this slide is not aligned properly. Like the PCI Gen 6 is cut off, or it's covered up by this 128 lanes. 128 lanes of PCIe. That's a lot. But anyone who's looked at like Threadripper Pro, you guys have seen this is basically like Threadripper Pro, except this is the data center equivalent. Deployment flexibility, one processor and 2 processor. That means you can get a single socket server motherboard or a dual, which is very common, dual socket motherboard for the server. Accelerate workloads 96. Oh, what is this? So this is hold on. So they've got the SP7, the SP8, the 9006X SP7. This is Venice X. This one is X3D. This is X3D in the data center. So here you can get an X3D with up to 96 cores, 16 channels of memory, and they support the RDIMM speeds up to 12,800 megatransfers on an X3D. And one gig, 1.1 gig, 1 gigabyte, or 1,152 megabytes of L3 cache. This is the epic X3D. Leadership frequency up to 5.15 gigahertz. Wow, 96 core CPU with X3D running at over 5 gigahertz with DDR5 speeds up to 12,800 megatransfers. So this slide right here is the sneak peek of what you can expect the Zen 6 architecture to be capable of when it goes all out. This is basically like Super Saiyan 3 transformation right here in terms of what it's doing right now. It has all the cache. It has over 5 gigahertz on a 96 core. That means if you drop this to like, I don't know, like 12 cores, imagine how fast it can go when it removes all that excess weight. Think of it like a car. It's kind of like, it's weird how this live stream has this underlying theme of automobiles, like cars. It's like, this is like having a super heavy car. And now you shed all that weight by dropping the core count all the way down. So imagine how the speed goes up when you shed the weight. All right. They also have a Verano. They have Verano. So these are all the Venice ones. Now they got Verano. This is the, I assume this is the low power server CPU. Up to 72 cores. This is AI host optimized. Optimized for CPU GPU connectivity. Enhanced XGMI at 112 gigabits per second using LPDDR5X. So this is probably more. They're saying this is for next gen rack scale AI solutions. So this is, what is this, Zen? Is this Zen 7? It's Verano. Hold up. I thought, did they show? No, this is not Zen 7 to my knowledge. I think this is like, this is more for the AI at the edge, since it's using LPDDR. So I'm not sure what that is, but that's interesting. Yeah, all of it's interesting actually, just thinking about like how this is going to scale down to the consumer desktop next year. So really interesting stuff here. Oh wait, there was more. We were looking at the Verano one. All right, so the throughput, we've seen that one before. We've seen this before. Native performance. 12-to-1 consolidation. Okay, this is where it gets kind of, this is more of like a sales style slide. So you can consolidate legacy infrastructure with fewer EPYC CPU powered servers. So they're saying here you can take 1,000 outdated servers that are each dual processor Intel Xeon Gold 6258R servers. You can drop that down. You can take 12. So for every 12 of those 1,000 servers, you can replace 12 with a single single AMD EPYC server. So basically, you turn 1,000 servers into 82 servers. Imagine doing a rip and replace of 1,000 servers being replaced by only 82 servers. So think about the space and power savings. Up to 77% less power, up to 92% fewer servers, up to 40% lower 5-year TCO. There we go, guys. 5 years. Remember what I say? What do I always say? Hardware lives on either 3, 5, or 7-year life cycles. And in this example, AMD is choosing the middle one because the middle one for data center is actually very real. The 5-year total cost of ownership. So very interesting stuff. EPYC CPUs deliver host node leadership. 1.8x higher tokens per second for frontier models. So they're making some spec comparisons here between Turin, going from Turin to Venice. So 5 gigahertz with 64 cores replaced by 5 gigahertz with 96 cores. So you're getting a core increase. You're getting a memory channel increase. They have 12 channels of memory on Turin. Now you're going to 16 channels on Venice. And on top of that, you're getting more than double the memory bandwidth. I/O bandwidth is also improving. You're going from PCI Gen 5 to PCI Gen 6. And that's 2 CPU to GPU bandwidth PCI Gen 6. Venice delivers powered rack. NVIDIA Vera rack. Oh, that's the one that we looked at. We showed this one off last fall, remember? Remember that? NVL72, the big discussion on the Tech Thursdays episode. What was that episode? 169 or something? Oh, not 169. It was 100 and... I don't remember anymore. It was like one of the best episodes of Tech Thursdays. It was the NVIDIA AI secrets revealed live stream. So yeah, they're showing this thing. The power density is, hold up. I'm trying to make sense of this because they're saying a single Venice rack has 49,152 CPU cores. 98,000, so you double it up to get your thread count. But the power is higher. 269 kilowatts. About 269 kilowatts. Versus the previous generation, 144 kilowatts. And then NVIDIA's Vera Rubin rack, or no, Vera Blackwell rack? Maybe it's Vera Rubin. Vera Rubin rack is 185 kilowatts. So the AMD one's way more power, but it's also like way more everything. So in terms of the CPU side, it's way more than both of these two. But the power density is kind of scary, man. That's some eyebrow raising power numbers you got there, AMD. That's all I'm gonna say on that one. Because I'm just thinking, like, imagine standing near this thing. I would be afraid to stand close to this thing if it's fully powered up and everything's at 100%. 269 kilowatts max load. I wouldn't feel comfortable standing close to that thing. Just saying. Like, that much, the power density on a single one of these Venice racks, fully maxed out with the maximum 256 core CPUs per socket. I don't know. I don't feel comfortable standing close to that thing if it's turned on. Anyway, Venice SP7 in production now. Platforms. That's a problem for, like, the whole industry, though. Because you know how we've been complaining time and time again about memory and, like, flash memory? Well, the other thing is electricity. Electricity is becoming a scarce resource potentially with this type of stuff, because they're talking about, so they showed this slide, right? Like, look at this, 12-to-1 consolidation. Well, I just hope that the power consumption of these 82 EPYC servers is at worst equal to the power consumption of 1,000 outdated Intel Xeons. I hope it's not more. But when I see this, I get concerned. Because that's a big number. That's a lot of watts. EMF. Yeah, I don't really want to stand close to that thing. I mean, even these other ones, like the NVIDIA Vera one, 185 kilowatts is already bad enough. But 269 kilowatts? All right, so they're saying here, okay, so this is how you guys can kind of tell where things are going with this. So SP7 is shipping Q4 of this year. SP8, that's the performance one. That's shipping first half of next year. SP7, so basically Zen 6 X3D for data center is shipping second half of next year. And then the low power for the AI at the edge is second half of next year. So this gives us a clue into when you can expect the Zen 6 consumer desktop CPUs, because you can see, oh, the server parts are shipping first half of next year for standard, second half for the 3D V cache for server, and then second half. So this tells me we're going to be seeing desktop Zen 6 basically next spring. So I would say March timeframe makes a lot of sense to expect Zen 6 on desktop. Okay, and then here's just a bunch of AI stuff. Okay. All right, so that kind of gives us a sneak peek of what to expect for Zen 6. It does seem like Zen 6 has a lot of interesting capabilities. It can support PCI Gen 6. It supports DDR5 8000. So actually, let's bring up Paint again. Let's remove the car stuff. Okay. So Zen 6. 12 cores per CCD. DDR5 8000. Official support. So what do I mean by this? So let's do a well, okay, let's just do this. Zen 5. Zen 5. 8 cores per CCD. DDR5 5600 official support. Zen 4. Zen 4 was also 8 cores per CCD. DDR5 5200 official support. So these are the specs. So there is a noticeable change with Zen 6 going from Zen 5 to Zen 6, because if you look, Zen 4 to Zen 5, what changed? You got a memory speed improvement. You went from DDR5 5200 to DDR5 5600 in the 1DPC. Now, going from Zen 5 to Zen 6, you're getting two different changes. You're getting a core count increase and another memory speed increase. So this tells me that this time around, Zen 6 marks a larger change from Zen 5 compared to Zen 4 to Zen 5. Zen 4 to Zen 5 felt more like a revision. However, Zen 5 was a new architecture. So it was a new architecture. In fact, we need to put the nodes. I need to get the architecture nodes. Hold on, let me find that. So if we do one of these, just pick one. This was 6 nanometers. Whoops. This was 6 nanometers. 6 nanometer. Oh, no, it's not. No. It was 4 nanometer. 4 nanometer CCD. 6 nanometer IO die. I'm just going to do this. IO die. Okay, and then if we go back to Zen 4, Zen 4 was 5 nanometer with 6 nanometer IO, 5 nanometer CCD. So your cores are 5 nanometer, and your IO die was the exact same. So So this one is 2 nanometer. 2 nanometer CCD. 3 nanometer IO die. So this is a big change, actually. Everything is changing. Like, big time. This time, everything's changing. Last time, you had a memory improvement, and you had like a tiny node shrink. But everything else stayed the same. This time, you're getting core improvement, big memory improvement, CCD change, and IO die. So literally, everything is changing this time. So Zen 6 is going to be a significant departure from Zen 5 physically compared to Zen 5 from Zen 4. So look at that. That's interesting. Also, CUDIMM support. CUDIMM support is being added. That's another thing that's being added. Now, server version supports PCIe 6.0. Now, this is an interesting one. We know from the announcement that Zen 6 is capable of working with PCIe 6.0 signals. What we don't know is if this functionality will be brought to the consumer desktop variant. There's a good chance that they don't bring this over because I don't know what value this will add. This is going to require more redrivers and circuitry and things for signal integrity reasons. So this could drive up the price of motherboards even more. So I don't know if this, like, what I'm saying is, if this doesn't show up on desktop, I don't really care if this doesn't happen, because this is, like, would we actually benefit from PCI 6.0? This would require a new motherboard. Yes, this will require a new motherboard, because this is something that is physically different from the old motherboard. You can't put a Zen 6 CPU in an X870 or a B850 motherboard and automatically have PCI Gen 6. That's not how it works. PCI Gen 6 is a physical connector with different electrical signaling characteristics compared to PCI Gen 5. So this is something you cannot get without a new motherboard that supports this feature. So if they don't bring this to desktop, I don't really know if it matters that much, because PCI 6.0, I mean, PCI 5.0 debuted with Intel's 12th gen in 2021. Like, now granted, it was toward the end of 2021, but you think about it, it's like, okay, let's think about this for a second. PCI 5.0 debuted in 2021. The first PCI 5.0 GeForce was in what, last year? The first PCIe 5.0 Radeon was in 2025. So look at the amount of time it took to get graphics cards. From the time PCI 5.0 was available, it was how many years to get a graphics card that actually supports Gen 5? The first NVMe SSD 5.0 SSD was in 2023? Yeah. Is that right? I think so. I think so. Yeah. I know because I was one of the first YouTubers to put a video with an actual NVMe Gen 5 SSD. So that was like January, February 2023. So, I mean, that's still over a year of waiting around to get Gen 5 storage options. So, that's why if PCI 6.0 doesn't show up, I don't really know if it matters. That's what I'm saying. So this is a big change, actually. Significant departures from um, what we have here. Um, so yeah, a bunch of this stuff is next year. Most of the stuff's next year. And actually, I'm actually glad that it's next year because it gives more time to wait and see what happens with memory. Now, I don't think memory's going to go down in price next year, but I can't imagine it continuing to go up forever. It's going to have to flatline at some point. If it takes a year for it to flatline, then so be it. But those Zen 6 CPUs are like next spring, probably. Probably like March. They probably get announced at CES and they launch in like March. Well, the thing with Gen 5, Gen 4, all that stuff, it may not matter today, but what I've noticed is that game developers, if you tell game developers they can code the game to use the direct storage at the Gen 5 speeds and they start doing that, then you can start seeing a difference. But it all depends on how software can take advantage of hardware. A lot of the stuff that we have with hardware, I feel like software has not been able to keep up. And that's why, well, I say that, and then you have these games that you require the most highest end hardware just to brute force through the game because the game is so hard to run. I mean, so I don't know, but is that spaghetti code, or is that just we need more technology, like we need better hardware? See, that's how it's always a weird balancing act of trying to determine, like, is a game is the game software coded badly, where the only way around it is to throw expensive computer hardware at the problem to have the problem go away? Or is it actually coded well and it's utilizing the hardware to its maximum, and the only way to get better performance is to improve the hardware? That is the key question that has never been properly answered to this day. And I think that is one of the driving factors for the PC enthusiasts, like hardware enthusiasts, gaming enthusiasts. That is the question, because you look at a game that came out and ran like trash on the PlayStation 4. Like, for example, Cyberpunk 2077 on PS4. On PS4. Who is to blame? Is Cyberpunk 2077 spaghetti code garbage, poor optimization? Or is the PS4 not powerful enough to handle the game? Who is to blame in this scenario? That is the question that tech enthusiasts don't really have a good answer. Yeah, but PS4 doesn't use DirectX. So, the question is relevant regardless of what platform. The PS5 has a basic Gen 4 SSD, yet has faster. The PS5 does not have a basic Gen 4 SSD. The PS5, well, I don't know how fast the actual NAND flash in the PS5 is, but the original requirement for an NVMe from Sony for PlayStation 5 when they first added the ability to use NVMe was you basically needed a maxed out Gen 4 SSD. So I don't know. PCI Gen 6, I don't know if it's actually needed. I guess the bottom line is I don't really know how PCI Gen 6 would enable any kind of improvement, if any, because of the way current technology for client workloads, for AI, for data center, yes, PCI Gen 6 data center workloads can take advantage of the PCI bandwidth that Gen 6 offers. But a client computer, like an actual desktop, can it benefit from PCI Gen 6 with current technology? I mean, we gave examples of like why PCI Gen 5 was kind of pointless when it debuted. There was literally no devices that you could install in a PCI 5.0 motherboard that could even run at PCI 5.0 speed until 2023 at the earliest, and that was only NVMe drives, and those were very expensive NVMe drives. So, I mean, I've got one right here. Crucial T700. This was Crucial's very first Gen 5 SSD. So stuff like this, you know, I mean, that wasn't even around when PCI Gen 5 first showed up in consumer desktop. Anyway, so all right, the show has been going for 2 hours, the 2 hour mark. So let's change topics here. We're going to be closing out the stream here shortly. So gaming, gamers, the gaming. Let me see. New games. There's some games. I don't know. Like you guys tell me. There's some. Let's look at this. Is this week? Yeah. So the gaming stuff. Games of week 31. Halo campaign evolved is out. Who here has been playing Halo? Let me do a poll. We haven't done a poll all stream. So which of the following recent games have you been playing? And then the choices will be Halo, Campaign, Evolved. That one's name almost didn't make it. Man, what was that other game? Oh. Okay. All right. Here they are. These are the most recent games. Unless, oh no, I forgot one. I forgot Assassin's Creed. I was thinking of it and I forgot about it. Now people are just gonna vote none of the above. Oh, I forgot about Assassin's Creed, man. I wanted to put Assassin's Creed on that list. Hold on. I'm gonna redo it. Well, whatever. Okay, well, no, that'll skew the numbers. I gotta redo it, man. But YouTube only lets me put 4 choices. I wanted to put Assassin's Creed on that list. Hey, can you guys answer me a question on Halo? Those of you playing Halo Campaign Evolved, does this game allow for co-op through the campaign? Like, can you play with friends through the campaign? Or is it only multiplayer? Like, do you have to play the campaign solo? Does it allow co-op multiplayer through the campaign? Oh, it has that? Oh, that's so good. Okay, that's good. Wait, what is this? This is a different game. Okay, Forsaken Realms Varen's Call. This is another game. This is a new game this week. This looks like it has ray tracing. I mean, I can't really tell. No, okay, never mind. Well, this was definitely not ray tracing. So this one is, sir, we have an orc. Wait, is that right? Sir, we have an orc problem? Oh, I see. Okay, the green things are the orcs. Sir, we have an orc problem. Okay, that's one. That's a new game. Company of Heroes 3 Final Stand. This one came out Wednesday this week. This looks like an RTS. How many of you actually play RTS games? Because there's a bunch of new RTS games coming out soon. And RTS is a genre that I have almost all but forgotten since the days of StarCraft, Brood War, and Age of Empires 2. Now, I did play a little bit of Age of Empires 4 back when it was new, several years back now, and I did play StarCraft 2 like 15 years ago. StarCraft 2 was one of the games that forced me to upgrade my very first PC. But I haven't touched a lot of RTS games in a long time. Mistfall Hammer. This looks like Lords of the Fallen. Man, this looks a lot like Lords of the Fallen. Wait, what is this? How come I've not even noticed this? Like, Dark Fantasy. Oh, it's an extraction. It's like Arc Raiders. Oh, it's Arc Raiders, but medieval times. Dark Fantasy. This doesn't really look like Arc Raiders though. It's extraction style. I don't know. I feel like these extraction games, they're fun. They can be fun when they're very brand new. I don't know. Corsair Cove. This game looks like somebody made it in Unity or maybe Unreal Engine 5. And then there are some other games here. Prelude, Dark Pain, The Ranchers, Sudden Attack, 0 Point, and The Relic First Guardian. This looks like it can run on Switch 2. That looks like some kind of like Animal Crossing without the animals. This looks like Resistance Fall of Man mixed with old school Call of Duty 4. And that looks like another Dark Souls clone. So yeah, okay. So that's gaming for this week. Yes, I did sign up for the Duskbloods closed network tests. It's funny you mentioned Duskbloods because I'm about to talk about the Switch 2 because we have not looked at Switch 2 in a while. So you guys remember when we were doing the streams with the old computers like DDR3 and DDR4, and then man, there was like I did a poll, and one of the choices was Star Fox, and no one voted. I think like one person or two people voted for it, and it straight up lost. So unfortunately, Star Fox didn't win. So I skipped over to Switch 2 for the summer gaming, but now we're coming back to it because there is a game that came out, like it re-released for Switch 2 this week. Let me see if they have an article. I don't know if they have one on this. No, this is just this one. So I guess, yeah, that doesn't really help me. Okay, go back. So we're probably going to be looking at the Switch 2 this weekend, like for the live stream, for the gaming live stream this weekend. It's probably going to be Switch 2 based. There's like a 90% chance, we'll say 85% chance that I'll be streaming Switch 2 this weekend because we haven't done a follow-up to the Switch 2 since Donkey Kong Bonanza last year. And no one voted for Metroid what was it? Metroid 4? Metroid Prime 4. No one voted for Star Fox, the Yoshi game, Yoshi's Book, something, whatever. Like, none of those games would ever win when we would do the polls. Like, anytime Nintendo's games were in a poll and you guys could vote for the Nintendo game, you guys wouldn't vote for the Nintendo games. So the Switch 2 kept getting basically pushed to the back of the list over and over and over again. So I figured, you know what? I think it's time we do a follow-up live stream featuring the Switch 2. Because I did PS5 Pro with Saros back in, what was that, April? I think April or like early May or something. So we've done PlayStation this year. We have not done Switch 2 at all. And there's a game that came out this week. Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Dude. Why is this Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Switch 2? Why is WCCF Tech's search engine utter garbage? You search something and it's like it gives you articles from like a year ago. Like, anyway, this is the game that we'll probably be looking at on Switch 2 because this is a game that I never actually finished on the Switch 1. And in fact, I've never actually finished any of the Xenoblade games. I have Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Wii U. The Wii U. And I never finished it. I have Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, I think, on the Switch or something. Never actually played it. But I have it. I never played it. I have the game. And then I have this game. Now, this game, I have like 100 hours in this game from the original Switch 1. And I just couldn't stand playing the game after a certain point because the graphics, I could tell that the Switch 1 was not doing this game any favors. Like, the game looked bad on the original Switch. Like, really, really bad. But we will be looking at Xenoblade Chronicles 2 because a lot of people say that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is the best game in the franchise, or it is their favorite game. Like, you go and look at, like, videos comparing all the Xenoblade games, and man, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 always shows up as, like, it's either it's like the person who's making the video's favorite in the series, or it's, like, right up there. It's, like, definitely in the top 2. So, it's usually between this one and the first one, or this one and the third one. And occasionally you'll have someone who likes Xenoblade Chronicles X. But all of them are good. This game probably has the weirdest combat system. So that's the reason why I think this game is either the best one because they like the combat system, or it is not the best one because of the combat system. So, we're going to be taking a look at Xenoblade Chronicles 2 on the Nintendo Switch 2. This game, so a couple of things to know about the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Switch 2 edition. Switch 2 edition. So number one, docked mode, 4K 60 DLSS in docked mode. So you get to play the game at 4K 60. Number two, 1080p in handheld mode. So you get 1080p 60. 1080p 60, 4K 60. So you actually have a game that is really taking advantage of DLSS and using it to its full potential for the Switch 2. Number 3, the field skills, or it's like blade, what is it? Blade field skills are always active even if the blade isn't in the active party or equipped. This is a huge quality of life improvement that everybody is so happy. There's a bunch of people that are buying the game just for this one alone. And then I think Momo from Xenosaga is a brand new rare blade. So you guys know me, I am a huge fan. I'm not like super into the Xenoblade series, hence the reason why I never finished any of the games. But I am a huge fan of the Xenosaga trilogy on the PlayStation 2. That is one of the best. That RPG trilogy was supposed to be a 6-part epic, but because they were so budget constrained, they had to basically do the whole thing in 3 games. And there's a lot of history to unpack there, so I could talk about that for like another 2 hours, but we're not going to do that. Suffice it to say, Xenosaga is an OG classic JRPG series from the PS2 era that I highly, highly recommend. And Momo was one of the main characters. He was like the 6th party member in the game, and she is now a rare blade in the Switch 2 edition. She's exclusive to the Switch 2 edition. So, yeah, we're going to be taking a look at that. We'll try out Momo. There's a couple of other things they added. Like Amiibo. There's like Amiibo. How do you spell Amiibo? Amiibo dailies or something. Like they added some other stuff. Also, like you can play as blades in the new, I forgot what it's called, but the new roguelike mode. Whatever. It's like another gameplay mode that they added. Basically, in the base game, you can dispatch your blades in a squad. You can send them off to go find materials or fight monsters or something. They added the ability to play as the blades doing that activity. So it's like, instead of sending them off for like an hour, now you can actually play as the blades doing the activity. So that's interesting. So they added that. I mean, there's a couple other things. I think it's like new costumes for some characters were added or something like that. I remember hearing about this stuff. These are the things that I vaguely remember being told are new in the Switch 2 edition. So we'll probably be taking a look at this game this weekend. Because I want to see DLSS on Switch 2. I want to see a game actually running at 4K 60 on the Switch 2 in docked mode. Because that's how we're going to be streaming the game. Have you heard of Retrobox? I think so. But yeah, we'll be taking a look at this. That Retrobox thing does sound familiar. But yeah, this is what we'll be doing, because the alternative, I mean, there's a couple of things. It's like I can play this. The alternative would be more Endless Ragnarok. Now, the thing about Endless Ragnarok, I finished the game last weekend on stream. Like, I literally finished like all the Savage tier difficulty fights, including the hidden one. So I've done all the content in that game.
How far out do you think we are from 6090? Thinking about building a third 5090 PC while prices are still manageable since I have an extra TV now.
Well, the 6090, we were talking about that earlier. 6090 will probably be next spring at the earliest. So think like May of next year at the earliest for the 6090. I guess follow-up question to you on that, since you have an extra TV. So I know you have this 5090 and the 5090D. Where or what would the third PC serve? Like, oh, I guess you have a game. Okay, never mind. You have two. You have one for your TV, one for your computer. So then you're thinking about getting another one for the other TV. But where are you gonna put the other TV? You said you have an extra TV. Well, where does that TV go? Like, where would you put that? Where you'd also need to put or be able to put a desktop computer next to it. You know what I'm saying? And also, I guess my other question there is why the 5090 specifically for a TV? Like, if it's a TV that you're sitting like 10 feet away from, or like 2.5 meters away, or 3 meters away, like why would you need the 5090 for a computer like that? You know what I'm saying? I'm just curious to know because it's like I'm just thinking with my own setup because I have a similar setup. I have the living room TV and I have a game room TV, but I wouldn't put a 5090 in the living room. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can. I'm just curious, like, where would you put the other? Where does the other TV go? Is I guess my main question there. But hopefully that answered the initial question. The main question you had was the 6090. The 6090 at the earliest will be next spring. 60 series in general you'll start hearing the leaks around November, December of this year. And then CES, there may be some kind of informal announcement, or it might be behind back doors to media, and then they're able to talk about it in February. And then they'll start doing the drip marketing for the 60 series winter of next year. So like January, February, and then you get into spring of next year with March, April, May, June. So I suspect the 60 series will be in the spring of next year. That will be the earliest. So it could be the summer of next year, meaning it could be a year from now. But you'll start hearing about it next winter. The other TV is in the dining area. Oh, do you need a desktop computer there though? See, I don't know. From my point of view, like I can't imagine needing to use a computer with a 5090 in that environment. I mean, that's just me thinking out loud. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I was gonna put a computer in that area, I don't think it needs a big computer. Like, you could put a smaller computer there. But it's up to you if you want to put another 5090 computer. Because when someone says 5090 desktop computer, I think of a really, really big, full tower computer. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a big desktop computer to put in like an area that is more heavily traveled by people rather than compared to like a bedroom or a gaming room or an office or something. You know what I'm saying? You're building a SteamOS PC. Yeah, and for SteamOS that makes sense. That makes sense. SteamOS PC with 9070 XT because you've got the Mesa drivers built into the Linux distro. Yeah, that makes sense. But I don't know, man. The dining room area with a giant desktop with a 59, that to me seems kind of weird. The V2 is connected to the main living room. That just seems strange to me because I'm just thinking like if I did that if I did that myself, would I put a 5090 in a full tower case in the dining room area near the living room? I just can't I can't bring myself to do something like that. It would just seem so weird. Cuz how often would you actually use that? That's the other thing too. Mac Mini, Mac Mini. Oh no, man. Mac Mini is like an AI thing. That's like an AI thing. Yeah, well, we're toward the end of the stream, but anyway, well, what I was saying was this weekend I'll either be streaming Switch 2 or more Endless Ragnarok. And I mean, I don't know, like Endless Ragnarok, technically I've already done everything in Endless Ragnarok. So the only thing I'd be doing is grinding MSP for my other characters to max out other characters. That's pretty much all I'd be doing. So that'd be kind of boring to watch. The other alternative that's still available is Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail. Dawn Trail got their big update this past Tuesday, so Occult Crescent, the final relic quest grind, is finally in the game. So if you're someone who is into Final Fantasy XIV, just know that now is the time to go back to the game if you're not actively playing already and max out the best in slot weapon before January of next year. So it's like that is the thing that is happening in Final Fantasy XIV. Now, if I go back to play that game, if I do that on stream, it's just to go through the story because I'm so behind. So those are the choices. It's basically Xenoblade Chronicles 2 on Switch 2 or more Endless Ragnarok because everybody loves Endless Ragnarok. And then, or the third choice would be Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail. Those are the choices. Those are the choices for the weekend live stream. Maybe you can utilize the 5090 laptop, but it'll be really loud. No, I don't know. I wouldn't suggest using the laptop either. I really think you should consider building like a small form factor PC for a place for that location. I just think 5090 and small form factor do not mix for obvious reasons. The cable, the enclosure space, you need airflow, so it needs to be a large case for safety reasons. So that's why I don't know. The 5090 just seems so I don't know. Like we're so far into the lifespan of 5090 now, and you already have two different ones. Personally, I think it's too late to buy a 5090. If you don't already have one, we're moving too close to that. Like we're within 12 months now, so it's like, if someone were to buy one now, if they never had one, they're only gonna have 5090 for like it's gonna get to the point where it's like you get maybe a year at most before the next generation, and then it's like I don't know. I feel like that ship has sailed. If you don't already have a 5090, there's no reason to get one. But if you already have one, if you already have two, I don't really see the need to get a third one, if that makes sense. You're better off getting a lower end graphics card and just say, because you'll probably, here's the thing, like you can get a much lower power, it's like more efficient, lower energy, smaller form factor. Oh, well, it can allow you to build a smaller form factor computer. You don't have to worry about the connector melting. You don't have to do any of that kind of stuff. It doesn't need a fancy power supply. So I kind of think for that environment, I mean, plus you'll be able to leverage upscaling on the TV, unless that doesn't appeal to you, like upscaling. It sounds weird saying that. Yeah, use upscaling, but to me, that would be the thing to do if you wanted to add a media PC to a dining room. Yeah, but laptop 59, you could do that, but it's like you're not going to leave the laptop there all the time because you're going to ruin the battery if you leave it plugged in all the time. How do you think my battery on my 16-year-old ThinkPad still works? I don't leave my laptops plugged in all the time. And I don't let the battery drain to zero either.
$9,070 XTX coming anytime soon?
So RDNA 4, no. There's no RDNA 4 GPU that's going to be better than what is available today coming out soon. What will come out is going to be the next generation of Radeon cards, but I have no idea when those are going to show up. Like I have less of an idea on when Radeon graphics cards will show up versus Nvidia's 60 series. 60 series is easier to predict because 60 series Nvidia follows a cadence. They have a roadmap, they have shareholders that they have to answer to. AMD has shareholders that they have to answer to as well. But when you look at AMD's graphics department and the importance of AMD's graphics versus the importance of AMD CPUs, it is vastly higher priority to focus on the CPUs for AMD than their GPUs. So I have no idea when the next Radeon GPUs are going to come out. What I can tell you is that AMD has the next generation graphics cards for the enterprise, for AI, that is shipping now. Now, how much of that will show up as a consumer Radeon graphics card? I have no idea. I know that AMD's not really prioritizing consumer graphics that much. They've kind of, I don't want to say they've given up, they just don't care as much, because as much as AMD has tried to get consumers to buy Radeon, the average gamer still doesn't even know that AMD Radeon is an option, so they just buy GeForce, so AMD is like, well, okay, if the gamers don't buy our chips for GPU, we'll just sell them to the AI guys because they'll buy it, So that's kind of what's happening with AI and with GPUs. So I have no idea when AMD will bring a next generation Radeon card. They will. I'm not saying they won't, but I can't say that they're coming soon, or I can't say they're coming next summer or next spring. I'm not going to commit to an actual time frame for Radeon because there's too much uncertainty. There's too many unknowns. They have the architecture. They have the cards. I mean, they have the ability to make the cards in mass quantities. The question is, when will they release it? I have no idea. It could be fall of 2027. That actually makes sense when I think about it more and more, because that's when the PlayStation 6 will come out. So it could be, December next year. A long time from now. Meaning you're more likely going to see a 6090 before you see a next generation Radeon. I wish I was wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually the reality that ends up happening. So, sorry I couldn't answer the question, but no, as far as your question was, is RDNA 4 getting a flagship and is that coming soon? The answer is no. AMD's done with RDNA 4. They've been done with RDNA 4 for a while now. So no. RDNA 5 or whatever they're calling the new thing, that will probably, I don't know when it's going to come out. It will come out. They have to refresh their product line at some point, but I have no idea when they'll do that. It'll probably be, I don't know, like next fall. Next fall, maybe. That sounds kind of believable. It sounds logical, but I'm not going to actually believe that it's going to come next fall until I learn more about it. But yeah, 60 series is probably like next spring, next summer. That sounds realistic. But for AMD, who knows? I don't know. I know that they have the data center stuff. I know that they have to prioritize the manufacturing from TSMC. So they're going to cater to the data center customers as much as possible for their GPUs. Anyway. So this is what you guys can expect to see this weekend. Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Right now, this one's looking like it's the highest chance. This one is second, and then Dawn Trail's like third. It depends on what I feel like playing this weekend. But there's a good chance we'll be revisiting the Switch 2. That's the most likely. So if you want to see Switch 2, 2026 4K 60 gameplay, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 upscale, DLSS, 60 FPS, new blades. We might pull some blades. We'll see. I don't know. I think I'm in like chapter 5 on new game, and I'm like 100 plus hours in the game, so I have no idea what I'm doing in that game. In fact, I forgot how to play the game, so I'm gonna have to relearn how to play Xenoblade Chronicles 2. The last time I touched that game was like 8 years ago. It's been a long time. I'm gonna have to relearn how to play the game. That 60 series is gonna... No, it's not. Why would it do that? Why would it need that? It's not gonna require anything. I mean, no, it's not gonna require anything. If it requires two 12-volt high power, that's a good thing, and you would just use the octopus cable for one of them, and then you would use the power supply cable adapter for the other one. So that's how I would do it. But actually, you wouldn't even need to do that because it would be dual 8-pin per connector. So no, it would be relatively easy to do. You'd use the included adapter for the GPU. In fact, they probably have to include dual 12-volt high power adapters for the 6090 if they do that. And they better do that, because I don't want to hear about these melting connectors with the 6090. They need to start putting two 12-volt high power to fix that problem. That will absolutely fix the problem. Otherwise, they need to do some serious like load balancing circuitry like they did on 3090 Ti to get rid of the problem. They need to do one or the other. NVIDIA, it's not that hard. I don't know why NVIDIA refuses to do this. It's like they're gonna, just have the card melt. It's like, okay, whatever. It's like they don't really care, because it's like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You're gonna get mad at them that your card melted, and you're gonna end up buying another one, or like you're gonna have to send it off to the guy who fixes it or whatever. So it's like they know that. What are you gonna do? There's no alternative. There's no alternative. What are you gonna do? Buy another one? That gives them even more money. So it's like there's no real incentive for them to fix it, other than to say that the noise behind people complaining about melting connectors will finally go away. So if that's not reason enough for them to do it, then they wouldn't bother. But anyway, AMD releasing 9050 XT. Yeah, 9050 XT, but 9050 XT is like, that's not really an enthusiast GPU, so... Alright guys, that's going to be it for this episode of Tech Thursdays. If you're new to the channel, we do these live streams every Thursdays, as the name implies. We talk about all things technology related, usually in the lens of someone who is building custom PCs for gaming. Not just gaming, it can be other things, but that's usually what we cover on this channel. So if you like this sort of content, do get subscribed. Do hit the bell icon to get notified when I go live. Sometimes we do gaming live streams on the weekend, which it's similar format to this, except we're not focusing 100% on technology like we are here. So if you're interested in tuning into that, hit the bell icon to get notified. Sometimes I go live on a Friday, sometimes it's Saturday, sometimes, rarely, it's on a Sunday evening. So that's why you got to hit the bell icon to get notified when I go live. Otherwise, that's going to be it for this episode. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you guys either this weekend, and if I don't, then I'll see you on the next episode of Tech Thursdays. Until then, take care, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks.